All right, just got back from the theater from seeing Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez, one of my most anticipated movies of 2024. There's some really cool things about this movie, so let's dive into it. Welcome back to Almost Sideways. My name is Adam, and today we are reviewing the latest release, Alien Romulus, which did get directed by Fede Alvarez and stars Kaylee Spaney, who has been on fire the last couple years with her big breakout role last year with Priscilla, and another action film this year with Civil War, acting alongside Kristen Dunst in the Alex Garland A24 film. Didn't even know she was in this film, to be honest with you. I had seen the trailers, but I really hadn't focused on who was the actors in the movie. I didn't really want to get too anticipated. I didn't want to have my expectations set too high by watching the trailers over and over again. So I gave the trailers a one over, watched them one time, really didn't dive too much into it because, again, I have that tendency where I get too anticipated, too excited for a film, and I just build that anticipation so high in my head, and I'm left disappointed. However, with Alien Romulus and being directed by a director I really do love, Fede Alvarez, and has done Don't Breathe, which is a fantastic film as well. I knew that he was going to bring some of his horror flair into this sci-fi world that Ridley Scott really kicked off about 45 years ago. And I gotta say, this one pays a lot of homages to the first two Alien movies, as well as also pays off some stuff from Prometheus as well. And I think that the best part about this film is the practical effects. But before I jump into this film, what I loved about the film, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about it. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, and follow us on our podcast, Almost Sideways Movie Podcast. This movie follows a group of friends led by Rain, who is played by Kaylee Spaney, and she has her brother, which air quotes is her brother, but it's essentially like a synthetic being named Andy, played by Mark Johnson, and other actors that do pop up in this movie is Archie Renault, Isabella Merced, who I've actually seen before in the Dora the Explorer film, and I think Transformers as well. You also get Spike Fern and Aileen Wu, just to name a few people here. But essentially, we follow this group of friends as they want to get off the planet, this mining facility planet that basically they're working for working for the man. They have to work for this corporation, but they're kind of liars, so they keep extending their stay in their kind of community hours that they have to work before they can be able to get transferred off the planet. So instead, they take the matters of their own hand. They see the ship floating above, so that we're going to go to that ship. We're going to steal something there, some cryo chambers, so we can be able to fly 9 years away to the place, like this dystopian paradise land. However, of course, they do everything with the best intentions, and unfortunately, all hell breaks loose. And this ship actually was holding the remnants of a Xenomorph, and they were doing experiments to try to make these perfect beings as well, try to have the flaws of the human be kind of perfected. Essentially, that's kind of the plot of this movie. But you'll really what I'm most impressed about this movie is that, yes, it's another Alien movie, and I'm a big fan of the franchise, even the ones that aren't good, like Alien Resurrection, and even Alien 3 gets a hard time, even though it's definitely near the bottom of the franchise. There's still an entertaining films because of the performances and generally the special effects, which are practical. Granted, some of them, they do get into kind of more CGI heavily, especially the latest entries. Fede Alvarez here wanted to pay homage to the first two Alien movies, so a lot of the sets are very practical, and even the Xenomorphs are practical effects. They're all practical for the most part. There are some CGI elements here, and there's one really notably bad shot in the third act in the last 15 minutes. However, I'm completely blown away by how great the visual effects here are, and if this doesn't get an Oscar nomination for the visuals, I would be really disappointed that this didn't get any love here, because it's a standout of this year, and we're only in August. The love and attention that Fede Alvarez did have with Romulus here is kind of perfect for this franchise. You can definitely see where this movie in timeline takes place after the events of the first Alien movie, but also there's a mixture of aliens in there with Prometheus, and even maybe a little bit of Alien Resurrection. Not the cheesy hammy stuff, but some of the kind of the craziness that does happen in the last 15 minutes of the movie. And some of that 15 minutes could make or break audience members. However, I was completely on board with it. My wife actually was also pretty kind of liked some of it as well. And there is some really brutal alien carnage that does happen, and it's kind of a beautiful thing to see. And I think seeing some of the brutalness that does happen from this alien this alien movie here, credit again goes to Fede Alvarez with kind of his horror background, getting the most effective ways to creep out the audience and bring the tension. It slowly builds the tension throughout the runtime, and having a movie that's an hour and 59 minutes, it really uses its runtime effectively, and it keeps the pace moving and the action really hot and heavy, and you're on the edge of your seat through the entire runtime. Again, yeah, there's some CGI issues near the last 15 minutes, and the last 15 minutes could make or break your enjoyment level with it, but of course it's just the amount of weird and creepiness that I'm kind of on board with it. If you know what my movie taste, and some of the movies I do put in my top 15s of whatever year we're talking about, there's some really weird, gross out stuff that does happen in those movies. I'm looking at like Resurrection and Neon Demon being some notable movies that are really crazy, with some gross out stuff that does happen in those films that, you know, are kind of right up my alley. The cast here does a really good job of effectively giving really good performances that are believable in this world without over hamming it up, and giving just amount of like their tension, and they're scared. You could tell that they're like freaked out to be in this place, and it's amazing. Haley Spaney, I would never have guessed would be the big action star after watching Priscilla, but we've seen 2 movies this year, and she fits right into this franchise here. David Johnson is probably my favorite performance here. He plays Andy. He's robotic, obviously, because he's a synthetic. However, you know, he is able to emote emotion, but it's also just like kind of a really great nuanced performance there that definitely is kind of like reminiscent to like Michael Fassbender in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And of course, we have to mention Ian Holm for the original Alien movie here too. Yeah, this is a really great film. I am thoroughly on board with this. I can definitely see this being kind of near the top of my ranking of Alien movies. I think currently it's at number 3. I'm a big fan of Alien. It's a top 100 movie for me. Aliens, it's really tough not to have that a top 100 movie, but it's damn great as well. And Romulus is right up there. I think the more I watch Romulus, I'll give it another watch before we do our top 10. I could bump it up to 4 stars. I'm currently at 3.5 stars, but you know what? I really don't have any flaws with it. I really had a great time. I felt claustrophobic. It reminded me of Alien Isolation, which is the game that does take place shortly after the events of Alien and before Aliens. You know what? Screw it. I'm giving this 4 stars. I thoroughly had a blast with this movie. I think sometimes when you go into movies and it's hard to, you're basically grasping at things that you didn't like about it, or just in trying to find, oh, there's this flaw here. Oh yeah. Why am I trying to knock the experience? I felt that this was a really great movie to see in theater. And I think the only really complaint I'm really seeing from general like letterbox reviews I've been reading is there's some noise issues. I guess there is moments of that the sound design is really loud, but at the same time as in space they can't hear you scream. So sometimes those ominous noises I think are effective. I personally really dug Alien Romulus a lot, and I cannot wait to go back for round 2. Definitely one of the more surprising movies of this year. And I just feel like that's why we shouldn't overhype trailers. I only watched the very first trailer they released of it, and I stayed away from the final trailer. I stayed away from the other outings and trailers, and I just feel like with trailers you get your expectations way too high, especially just instead of just enjoying the ride, and sometimes they show too much. So I'm really happy I just stayed away from the trailers of this one, and it's effective for me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed Fede Alvarez's direction, and I cannot wait to see other movies that he's done or will be doing as well. And I would be interested to see him doing another Alien movie here. I just think that it'd be fantastic to watch. I know that he's currently in development of Evil Dead 2 and Monster Apocalypse is another movie he is writing as well. So looking forward to seeing all that. So anyway, until next time, guys, that's my thoughts, takes, and opinions on Alien Romulus. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments section down below, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you later.